that what it is, Super Bowl Sunday? No, you're supposed to say, no, it's Ministry Sunday. We're glad you're here. It is Ministry Sunday. We're doing a lot of unusual things during the service this morning. Those of you that are visiting, this will be a little unusual, a little different service than we normally do. And then after the service this morning, we got over in the fellowship hall, there, oh my, tons of pots of chili and pies and all kinds of stuff. So afterwards, we're going to have a time of fellowship with her. It's kind of a free will offering for it, because what it's going to do is go towards our mission trip to Chile this summer. And so you're invited. We'd love for you to come and just enjoy the fellowship time and the time afterwards. We will not be having service tonight because of the activities throughout this morning. I did want to mention, I told you last week that one of our missionaries, Sal Garcia, passed away. They will be having a memorial service for him this Saturday at 1 o'clock at the Heritage Baptist Church in Pueblo. Heritage Baptist Church in Pueblo. And it's on Overton Road, 2122 Overton Road. If you'd like to know more about that, you can see me. But they'll be doing that this Saturday. Do appreciate all the nice comments that you wrote, the finances that you gave. If you'd like to get some more, we'll make sure that we'll get those. Other announcements are in your bulletin, and hope you'll take the time to read them. We want to kind of move right along so we can get everything in that we need to get in this morning. We're going to have a word of prayer, and then I think our ensemble is going to start our service this morning. Let's pray. Father, we thank you this morning as we come together to appreciate what you've done for us on Calvary, giving us eternal life. But then also to appreciate what you allow us to do. You allow us to be servants. You allow us to work and do things for you and for others. And so as we go through this particular service this morning, may we just allow the Holy Spirit to speak to us. If there's a place you want us to serve, we just simply need to say yes, Lord. And so be with our entire service this morning. In Jesus' name, amen.
In the light. right, let's go ahead and stand today. Let's sing on a couple of new choruses here. Number 672, What a Mighty God We Serve.
his 97th birthday. And it is so good to have Suzanne Martin Chalk back with us. But this is Ministry Sunday, and so there's lots of tables around and so forth. I'm sure you had to weed your way in here this morning. And after service, we're going to give you some time. There'll be people seated at those tables who can help you out. If you have questions or whatever, or hopefully you'll sign up for one of those ministries. But they'll be there after the service, and so we'll invite you there. But let's look at that poem that we have in the bulletin, inside cover. Call to serve. We've been called by God to serve, whether or not we have the nerve. For He promised to be there to help us if we do our share. Protected by the Lord above and filled with zeal and holy love, we need to be obedient, trust to do what we feel sure we must. Enabled by the Holy Spirit, surrounded by the angelic host, God has supplied our every need so that we might excel, exceed. He gave us a gift for a good reason, that we might be in or out of season. Share the Word of God with others, future pastors, sisters, brothers, serving, helping, praying, preaching, healing, warring, giving, teaching. Do all we need to do without expecting one thank you. I appreciate that poem there. In your bulletin also is this little brochure. If you'll take it out, open it up, and you can follow along as we go through the various ministries. It'll also be on the PowerPoint. We start out with the Wednesday morning ladies prayer group who they meet over at the office building. We call it the Annex. They meet at 9:30 every Wednesday morning. There's about 15 or so ladies that meet there, and they pray for, of course, the church, all of our missionaries, any prayer requests you might have. They take an hour and a half or so to pray, and we really appreciate them. If you'd like to join these ladies, as I said, it's 9:30 every Wednesday morning. The second ministry we look at is the nursing home ministry. Of course, they go to various nursing homes, and some go on Sundays throughout the week and so forth, and we have a ministry there, and can always use some help in the nursing home. They need people there that will, if you'd like to speak, if you'd like to share a devotion, if you can sing or play an instrument, or if you just simply like to be there to help, they can certainly use people in the nursing home ministry. That's headed by Maxine Hennis. She's been doing that in this church for how long, Maxine?
45 years.
45 years. And she said in the next 45 years she'd like your help. Okay. Jail ministry. Don Anderson. Is Don here this morning?
No.
He may be in jail. He does the jail ministry, and he's a former pastor, retired pastor. He's able to have Bible study with those in the jail, and several have come and visited our church after they get out and so forth, and we really appreciate Don doing that. Be in prayer for him. Then you have the church library. I didn't know if you knew that we had a church library. It's between the two buildings as you go over into the fellowship hall. We have videos in there. We have books that are available for you to check out. It's really a self-help. All you need to do is go in there, find what you like, and then sign the card, put it in a little box there, and after you get done with the reading or the video, just bring it back, and we appreciate your being able to use it. There are a variety of books back there. There's some Christian fiction books, biographies, commentaries, just all kinds, and you're welcome anytime to check any of those out. We also have the van ministry headed by Rick Alberson. Doug Hoffman helps him. Every Sunday morning they go out and pick up people that need a ride, bring them to church, take them home after church and so forth, and use it for other activities. Doug also takes care of the maintenance, getting it taken care of and so forth, and we appreciate, or Rick does that, I'm sorry. We appreciate him doing that. That's the van ministry. So if you'd like to help be a substitute driver, certainly they'd appreciate that. Our sound techs, thank you guys for having this on this morning. They're back in the back. Brent Iden, raise your hand, Brent, if anybody's looking. And then Dan Meeks is back there. And they keep the sound going throughout the service, really do a good job, set up all the mics and so forth for whatever special things we might have. They record every message. If you'd like to get a recording of the message, they have it, and they'll make sure that you're provided with that. PowerPoint. course, this is the PowerPoint up here. Shannon Reed, who is not here this Sunday, and Cheryl Bertel, she's running it this morning. They put up the pictures for on the screen and so forth. As we go through the message, they'll have the outline and it'll be up on the screen, and we really appreciate the PowerPoint. Then the orchestra PowerPoint. When the orchestra plays, there's some beautiful pictures that go along with the words of the song. And Dennis Johnson does that. He does a really, really good job. Where's Dennis? See here, he may be back cooking. Is he cooking? Oh, all right. Good. Well, Dennis does the orchestra pictures, and he really does a really good job. He's also one of our deacons. Paul and Sue Fisher head up the Sharon Ministry. Paul is a deacon in the church. Sharon stands for Seeking, Helping, Aggressively, Reaching Everyone. We started Sharon Ministry, probably 15 years ago, and the reason we did this is because we didn't want people to fall through the cracks. And so when people start coming to our church, they're assigned to one of our share teams. There's 4 share teams, and they're assigned to one of our share teams, and that particular share team just kind of watches out for those people that are on their part of their family, and make sure that if they're something they have a need, something's going on, and make sure that they get that taken care of and so forth. And we'd love for you to be a part of helping with the share team. They send out cards, they make phone calls, they do visits, or just simply be greeters. And if you'd like to be helping that share team, Paul, raise your hand there, sir. He's right here. He'll have a table in the back, and we really appreciate that. All right, and then video production. This is just a recent ministry that we just started. All of our services are now on YouTube. And so you can go to the church website and go to the YouTube and go to the videos and have the entire service, watch the entire service. If you miss a Sunday or something, or you have people that, relatives or something that live elsewhere, and you'd like for them to see a particular time, you know, when we do our Christmas with choir, the orchestra, the Christmas cantatas, Easter, those are always fun to rewatch, and so they're on there. You can go and watch it off of YouTube. Okay, I think that's all I've got for right now. I'm going to have Steve and Lisa come and sing for you, and then Steve's going to share a little more with you.
Refrain. in honor to the King. Oh, for a thousand hands to raise in honor to the King. In honor to the
We want to continue on with our next slides. The phone tree is our next one. This next slide is our phone tree, and whenever you get a call from the church and you hear a voice giving you a prayer request, these are the voices you hear: Charlotte Robinson and myself. And if you're not receiving a call on the phone tree and you would like to have your name and number added, let me know, and we'll make sure your phone number gets added to the phone tree. It gives you prayer requests. It gives you a lot of different things that's happening in our services. Like if we had a closed service for snow or some reason, we let you know. So if you'd like to be added, you're not on the phone tree, please see me and have your phone number ready. Our next slide, Chris Stroop and Linda Lemons are in charge of our bereavement committee. They've always done a wonderful job. Whenever we have a funeral service here for one of our church members, these ladies and a few other ladies help prepare a meal for the families of the deceased, and they're always a blessing to help those that are in need. We appreciate all these ladies that are involved in these ministries as well as with Chris and Linda, and we just appreciate them. Our next slide is our Men's Wednesday prayer group. Gary Palmgren is in charge of this. We meet every Wednesday morning in the lobby right out here at 9 o'clock in the morning. We go around the table and we share prayer requests, and then we pray for those requests one at a time as we go around the table. And men, if you would like to have a part of this, join us. We'd love to have you. We meet every Wednesday morning, 9 o'clock, right there in the lobby. Our next slide, Girlfriends Cafe. Sharon is in charge of this. They meet every third Saturday of the month at 9 a.m. in the fellowship hall, and they have breakfast goodies and fellowship and have a Bible devotion object lesson, and it's really a great time for our ladies. I believe they've really been enjoying this. Their next meeting is February 16th. That's coming up. February 16th at 9 a.m. So keep that in mind, ladies. Our next slide, Sunday morning prayer time. Gary and Martha Palmgren meet every Sunday morning at 8:15 to about 8:45 in room 106 back here. And this is open for anyone to come and spend time with them in prayer. And what they do is they pray for the morning service, and they pray for any other requests that people might have on their minds, on their hearts, and they pray for these things. And they pray that we'll have a blessed service and that God would meet with us in our morning worship service, and they pray about these things. So if you'd like to join them, come on Sunday mornings at 8:15. I know they'd love to have you. Our next slide is our Gideon's International Ministry. Dave Schulte is our representative for our church. And as you know, the Gideons provide millions of Bibles every year, all over the world, millions. And Dave has been a part of this ministry for many, many years. And we just appreciate his ministry and his faithfulness. Thank you, Dave. Our next slide is our men's coffee time. We meet in the lobby every Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock. It's a time of fellowship with cookies and coffee, and we go around and we try to solve all the world's problems. And we never end up solving them. But it's a great time of fellowship. We end our time in prayer, and men, we would love to have you join us on Wednesday mornings at 10 o'clock. Our next slide is our ushers. Arnold Robinson is in charge of our ushers, and he has been for many years. And the ushers help you find a seat, and they take up our offering, and we just appreciate all of our ushers and all the work that they do. Our next slide is our men's breakfast. We meet every Friday morning at Village Inn at 6:45, and we have a good meal, we have good servers, and they even put up with all of our silliness. But seriously, it's a great time of fellowship, and we always end our time with a Bible devotion. And so, men, we'd love to have you 6:45 on Friday mornings at Village Inn. Our next slide is the seasoned saints. Now, this sounds a little strange to you because it's the old Veterans of Faith group. We just changed the name because several people, a lot of newer people that were coming to our church, they were getting us confused with military veterans. And even though we've had this name, Veterans of Faith, for 19 years, we felt it was time to change it. And so we are now the seasoned saints. The word seasoned basically means you have grown in the faith and you're mature and you're seasoned. If you'll notice the picture, there's a little salt shaker above the man's head. That doesn't mean that we assault each other. It just means we are seasoned in the faith. We are not seasonal, we are seasoned. I'm going to have Pastor David go ahead and come back at this time.
Do you notice most of our ministries involve eating? Yeah, it's a Baptist church for sure. All right, I want to talk about the orchestra. Of course, you just heard the orchestra this morning. You know, it started a few years ago with 3 people, and it is built, and now there's about 20 different instruments. If they were all here, they play during the service, of course, and then also they do for our offering, they do an offertory, and we really appreciate them. They've also had the opportunity to play at different organizations in Pueblo, Colorado Springs, here in town. They're going to be doing something a little later in the year. It's just really, really been good. They practice every Wednesday night at 5 o'clock. If you play an instrument, they'd love to have you come and join them. Interesting thing about this is a lot of these folks are older. I want to be careful how I said that. They're seasoned saints. But you know, many of them hadn't played anything since high school. When they played in bands and stuff in high school, and picked it up and started practicing again, and now they're part of, and they really, really do a good job and appreciate them. So practice Wednesdays at 5 o'clock. The choir, an ensemble, you just heard the ensemble this morning, that's by Sharon Carlton. She leads the choir. They practice Sunday night at 5 o'clock. We're practicing tonight. No practice tonight. Oh, you're watching the Super Bowl, that's what it is. Who are you rooting for? Both teams. She's a Cowboy fan, I think. That's the problem. All right, tonight, they practice Sunday night at 5 o'clock, and of course, they'll do Christmas special cantata, Easter cantata, and so forth, and every once in a while sing a special in church, and we really appreciate the choir and also the ensemble in their practice. Our Wednesday night Bible study. Steve and I rotate this class on Wednesday evening. I'll do a series, he'll do a series, and usually it's a series that's topical. You know, on Sundays we go through the Bible, but on Wednesday nights it's a topical session. We meet in the fellowship hall, 6 o'clock on Wednesday night. We'd love to have you come and join us there. There's usually about 50 people or so that are there for that. Sunday school record keeper, Chris Stoup. Where's Chris? Is she back over here? She's clear in the back. All right. Chris has been doing that for quite a while. Basically, she keeps track of our Sunday school attendance, who's here, who's not, and so forth. Also, during the Sunday school, the classes take up an offering, and this offering goes to a mission church in Denver, and so she makes sure that that's kept straight and so forth. So, appreciate Chris doing that. Adult Sunday school. We have 4 adult Sunday school classes. Sid, 6, and Jerry Canterbury have one that's in the chapel. The chapel's all the way at the back. That's probably an older group that meet back in the back. Steve has a class that meets over in the office, the annex building over here. And this is about 40 to 60 years of age that meet in there. Kevin has a class that meets over in the fellowship hall. And you've got all kinds of ages in your class, don't you? All kinds. They're seasonal. Yeah. So they meet in the fellowship hall. And then Brent has one in room 103, and it's young adults. And 9 o'clock Sunday morning, if you'd love to come to one of these Sunday school classes. You know, the thing about Sunday school, you get, in most of these classes, you get to say something, you get to comment if you're, as they're going through these lessons, and they're very practical lessons. And so I'd encourage you to come to one of those classes. The new members class. This is a class that's 4 weeks long. We meet on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock. The reason we did this is we wanted the people to understand what our church is all about before they become members. And we'll go through philosophy, the doctrine of the church, the history of the church, the purpose of the church. We just take the time to share with you what the church is all about. And as I said, we meet for 4 Sundays, and then the 4th Sunday we have a luncheon with the deacons and the staff. And it's just the time that you get to know the class. We will start a new class next Sunday morning, 9 o'clock in room 106. If you don't know where that room is, you can come in and somebody will get you there. And there's also maps on the wall over here. But love to have you come to that class. We do ask that you would sign the sheet on the tear-out sheet so we can know how much material to prepare for you and have that ready for you. Okay? Our Sunday school, the young people Sunday school, junior high and high school, Fred and Kathy Arnold take care of that. And they meet in room 104. And of course, it's 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. They take the time with our young people and share with them just some practical things that the kids need. And boy, how nowadays kids that are in junior high and high school, they definitely need scriptural teaching. They're getting so much secular stuff that's wrong. It's definitely wrong. And so if you know a young person, we'd encourage you to have them come here. Also, the youth group meets on Wednesday night. Brett and Jennifer take care of that. They meet with the kids on Wednesday night and do some practical teaching, some game stuff and so forth. Also get them prepared for youth camp if they'd like to go to youth camp. That's Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. And then the next one is Sharon, security. Jared Canterbury heads that up. A couple years, I think we've been having this ministry for a couple years now. We've had it all along, but really where it's been organized and so forth because of all the things that were happening in churches and so forth, we thought we really needed some tight security. And I am so thankful for our security. We have as good a security as any place you can look for. There's about 15 guys who are trained. They rotate, they're on a rotating basis, and they take care of the different areas. We have monitors in the church that they're watching through the screen. There's somebody out on the parking lot during the service and so forth. There are guys that are at the doors. There's exit strategies if something were to happen. They would be right there to tell us what we need to do at that very moment and so forth. So really appreciate our security team. I'm sad we have to have it, but for your protection, it is there. In a church like ours that makes sure that we preach the gospel the way it is, we want to make sure that we have security here. We can do what we want to. So we want you to feel free about that. Guys, I'm going to have Sharon come up and sing at this time, and then Steve will share a little more with you.
Do I show in the way that I walk in my life the love that you've given to me? My heart's desire is to be like you in all that I do, all I am. Do they see Jesus in me? Do they recognize your face? Do I communicate your love and your grace? Do I reflect who you are in the way I choose to be? Do they see Jesus in me? Well, it's amazing that you'd ever use me, but use me the way that you will. Help me to hold out a heart compassion and grace, a heart that your spirit fills. May I show forgiveness and mercy the same way you've shown them to me. Do they see Jesus in me? Do they recognize your face? Do I communicate your love and your grace? Do I reflect who you are in the way I choose to be? Do they see Jesus, Jesus in me? Well, I want to show all the world that you are the reason I live and breathe. So you'll be the one that they see when they see me. Do they see Jesus in me? Do they recognize your face? Do I communicate your love and your grace? Do I reflect who you are in the way I choose to be? Do they see Jesus, Jesus in me? Do they see Jesus? Do they see Jesus in me?
Thank you, Sharon. We want to continue on with our last series of slides here this morning. Our nursery, Jennifer Iden runs our nursery, and she and other volunteer workers take care of our children during our service so that we can have a nice, quiet, peaceful time. Don't you appreciate that? The nursery is always in need of other volunteers, and I know Jennifer could use your help. If we could just have a few people that would say, you know, I can help one Sunday a month, that would be a big help to them because they're always short-handed when it comes to the nursery. But we appreciate all of our nursery workers and Jennifer for the work that they do. Our next slide, Lori Johnson is our children's Sunday school superintendent. Lori orders the curriculum for the teachers, and she makes sure that every class is covered each week with the teachers that we need that particular Sunday morning. And we just appreciate Lori and all the work that she does as being our children's Sunday school superintendent. And speaking of those children's Sunday school teachers, they are Gail Six, Mary Halverson, and Sandra Seifert. And we just appreciate their faithfulness week after week. It's always a blessing when they're there and they're teaching our children the gospel and teaching them how to grow in the Lord, and we just appreciate their faithfulness so much. Our next slide is junior church. My wife Lisa is with the kids during our morning service, and the kids are taught scripture and a gospel Bible lesson, and lately we've been having over 20 kids every week. So Lisa could really use your help. Again, if we can have 4 couples that would just say, you know what, I'll go help in there, just one Sunday a month. Not teach, but just be a helper. I know she would really appreciate your help. So just see me or Lisa, and I know that we would appreciate that very much. Every summer we have Vacation Bible School for our kids, and we reach out into the community to bring other kids into our church. And our VBS is always Bible adventure oriented, as well as gospel salvation oriented. And I'm not real positive, but we may be having a youth group from Texas, Sharon's old church, that may be coming up and helping us with Vacation Bible School this summer. We're working on that. So just be in prayer about that. but it's always a great time for our kids and for our church. Our next slide is our Samaritan's Purse Operation Christmas Child Ministry. Laverne and Cheryl Bartell are in charge of distributing the boxes and collecting them every fall. And these boxes are then shipped to children all over the world. Now the Samaritan's Shoebox Ministry is a Franklin Graham ministry, and we just appreciate Laverne and Cheryl taking care of this every year for us. We appreciate that. Our next slide is actually a new ministry that we've just started this year, SOSS, which stands for Serving Other Single Seniors. And this ministry provides an opportunity to help care for and minister to those who are single seniors, widows, widowers. They have a fellowship time get-together once a month, and Ronnie and Matt Bingham are doing this ministry, and we just appreciate them taking on this ministry, and it's been a real blessing for our people already, and I know they enjoy it. Our next slide, Lou McKee is in charge of our Threads of Love ministry. This ministry provides new clothes and Bibles for some of our kids, and this ministry has also helped families outside our church and has been a real blessing to them. And so we just appreciate Lou and this ministry. They have a table back there. They have a lot of information. We'd like for you to go back there and check that out. Our next slide is No Strings Attached. This is a sewing ministry for our ladies, and Cheryl Bartell runs this ministry. And they make quilts for the pregnancy center. They help sew things for any other needs for people in our church. They have helped Rhett Pierce in the past on his ministry, in his ministry trips that he takes, by sewing little stuffed animals for children that he sees on his trips. And I know Cheryl and the other ladies would love to have any ladies come join them. And they meet every first and third Monday of every month. And if you have any questions about that, you can see Cheryl. Our next slide, our missions committee consists of Laverne and Cheryl Bartell, Dennis and Lori Johnson, and Lisa and myself. We meet once a month and work on our annual missions conference and schedule any new missionaries we could have in the coming year. And we have also been preparing and planning an upcoming missions trip to Chile that we're taking in July. And as Pastor mentioned, we're going to have a chili lunch right after this service as a fundraiser for our trip. And we hope you'll stay, have some chili, and donate to our trip. There's one other ministry we want to mention. It's not on the slide today, and this is kind of a seasonal type ministry. But we have the Truth Project, and Matt Bingham is in charge of our Truth Project. It's a seasonal video series by Del Tackett, who used to work for Focus on the Family. It's a great video series. I know many people here have seen it. I've seen it a couple times, and it's a real blessing. It's an eye-opener, and it really helps you understand the foundation of your faith and God's purpose in us all. And so if you're interested in being a part of this video ministry, if we can get a few couples together, please see Matt. I know that he would enjoy showing that to you. Again, we appreciate all of these who are involved in all these ministries that we mentioned every day. We really couldn't do it without you guys, and so we appreciate you. And so we hope you'll join up and be a part of one of these great ministries. And as you leave today, just walk up to one of these people at the table who's involved in ministry and just say, you know what, thank you. Thank you for being involved in the ministry that you do. And if you can help be a part of that, I know they would appreciate that very much. Pastor.
Romans chapter 12, if you'll turn there, if you've got your Bibles, my message is going to be short because I can smell the chili. So, you know, I heard a statement one time that in a typical church, 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people. Think about that. Now, our church, I think, is greater than that. I know it is. But I would hope that as we share with you these things, and I'm going to share with you just a little bit more, that you would see, hey, maybe God could use me here, there, or somewhere. And I hope you'll do that. Romans chapter 12. Let's look at verses 1 through 3, and then I'll skip down a couple of verses. Romans chapter 12, verse 1, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you might prove what is the good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as God hath dealt to every man the measure of faith. Drop down to verse 10. Be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love and honor, preferring one another. Then drop down to verse 12. Rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer, distributing to the necessity of the saints, giving to hospitality. Bless them which persecute you, bless and curse not. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, weep with them that weep, and be of the same mind one towards another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits. You know, I was thinking about what are churches known for? And of course it's service. Well, service is what they should be known for, but what's happening in churches today, they are known for their services, what their services are all about, not their service. And people end up choosing a church by what kind of service does the church has, not the service the church does. What if saying that we're going to church service this week and you need to bring work gloves and wash the windows and we're not going to just sit in the pews and sing hymns? How many people would show up? That's service. That's service. Yeah, we had a couple raise their hand. Thank you both. I'll remember that. We got some stuff for you this week. And we said, we want you to wear work clothes rather than dress clothes. You know, what we do on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. is, it's not wrong, but should we really call that a service? The original meaning of service is slavery. A Christian servant is a slave of God. We just read that in the scriptures, a slave of God. And for the most part, our time in church doesn't require any effort. We just come in and basically we shake a few hands and we sit down and we listen. We listen. And instead of actual labor, of us doing anything, we just give 10% so somebody else can do 10% of our money so somebody else can do the labor. And here's the problem. We're commanded to give, yes, 10% or grace giving, whichever one you believe in. But in participating in serving actual labor, not so much. And we're missing out on something. If we're not serving, if we're not being a part of ministry, we're missing out. Because you see, service is really supernatural. There is something supernatural that happens when we do service for other people. And sometimes it's between us and the one we serve, and it's only on the inside ourselves that something supernatural happens, but it happens when you serve somebody else. You get blessed because you're doing something. And placing your life in the life of another is taking on, not necessarily taking on their whole burden, but it's an attempt to help and seeing that things work out in their life, changing some things, these burdens get redeemed. And our view of life and our view of purpose becomes more greater than just us. So much of what happens today is self. It's all about me. But if we're doing service, our sphere of concern begins to grow. And you know that with our problems, our own personal problems, they become smaller because we see things that are happening out there that need much more help. We can be there. And as we pour our life of service into another, the Lord fills us with Himself. Secondly, service is a Christian walk. When you serve, it is usually out of duty. And should that be a part of our Christian duty? We don't serve just because we have extra time, but we make extra time to serve. Somebody might say, well, I've got a few minutes here, maybe I'll do something. No. God wants you to do something. You may skip out on something else and go do what God wants you to do. Christ demonstrated that in His life, that the service, and He continues to serve. He served until He died. We're never too old to stop serving, too old to serve. We need to keep serving. Remember, Jesus turned the water into wine in the beginning of His ministry, and at the end of His ministry, He washed the disciples' feet. And Jesus' life and His service inspired others to serve. There was that woman who washed His feet with her tears and wiped tears off with her hair. The disciples, they fed the multitudes. They collected food and gave it out to others. The owner of the upper room had it prepared for the king's entrance. Because of what Jesus displayed, what he showed, they wanted to serve. And life goes on, and we are inspired to submit to duty. I'm sure you saw something up here this morning. You said, you know, I might could be a part of that. Maybe I could help once a month in children's church, just being back there, just helping with the kids. Something like that. Service is also labor performed at the command of the owner. That's God. That's God. 1 Corinthians chapter 6 says, we are not our own, we are bought with a price. Jesus shed his blood and bought us. And so we are actually bondservants of the Most High. And our service ought to begin and end with the request of the King. What does God want you to do? Why are you in this church? Why do we have these 40-some ministries going on? God wants you to be a part of it somewhere. Isn't one of those things, well, when God asks me to do it, I'll do it. Wait a minute. He's already commanded us to do it. We are commanded to serve one another, and I'll share that with you. There are 29 positive commands in God's Word that we're to do serving others. Unified with one another, devoted to one another, preferring one another, loving one another, edifying one another, accept one another, admonish one another, greet one another, serve one another, bear one another's burdens, seek one another, forbear one another, speak truth to one another, be kind to one another, be tenderhearted to one another, forgive one another, be subject to one another, be honest with one another, comfort one another, exhort one another, love and good deeds for one another, encourage one another, confess to one another, pray for one another, show hospitality to one another, be compassionate to one another, share with one another, be clothed in humility, fellowship with one another. What do you think the message is there? It's been God's word. One another. We're here to minister to one another. And so that's what this morning is all about. We just want to encourage you. It's here. It's open for you. It's something that's between you and God for sure. But we need to be serving somewhere, doing something, being a part of some ministry. And then we're helping one another. We got to stop thinking about just self. We're here for one another. Let's pray. Father, we come this morning and we thank you for the lesson. We thank you for the things that we shared this morning. We thank you for the things that we've learned. And Lord, we want to allow you to have freedom in our life so that we might do the things that need to be done. There's so much ministry here. There's probably new ministries that you want us to do. There's certainly people that you want us to reach. And so, God, we want to be able to do that. And I pray, Lord, that each one of us will just say, God, I'm here. I'm yours. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Before you're dismissed, let those that are going to tables go ahead and go back to their tables. Give them a minute to sit there, get ready for you. Spend some time. It'll be a little while before we have lunch. It'll be a few minutes. So just look at the different tables of different ministries. Ask questions. Volunteer. Whatever needs to be done. We're certainly glad that you were here this morning. Again, we will not be having service tonight. You have Wednesday night Bible study. We'll give you just a moment to get set up at their tables. They have information for you. Also, the newsletter for this month is also available on the different tables at the kiosk, one on the back table, some on the back table back there. And then we'd like for you to join us in the fellowship hall. I looked back there an hour ago, and I'm sure it's an hour and a half ago, and I'm sure it's been growing since then. Plenty of food and just good time. I think they're going to have an auction for the pies in order to raise money, so be ready for that. Okay, you're dismissed.